Hi, everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we're going to talk about Chai, Tea for Two. And this is published by Steeped Games.
All right, in this game, this is a worker placement game, but you have dice. Your dice are your workers. You're rolling them. You're using your dice in order to get tea. You make your tea ready to ship out. And then you're ultimately shipping it out to tea-loving countries all over the world. Let me show you what it looks like on the table. All right, here is our setup for Chai, Tea for Two. All right, we're going to have our 7 dice here, and you have those sweet upgrades. You have those awesome dice trays. We have our own personal player board as well. It is double-sided. This one's a little more complicated, as you can tell. So we're just going to go over that side. Basically, this is how you're going to be moving your tea all the way up until the top, which is how you're going to ship it. And then we have all of our board across the middle there. That is going to be where all of our actions take place. We're also going to be dealt a secret objective. One of these cards here that basically kind of incentivizes to go after a certain kind of tea. So this one says, like 1 point per the white tea leaves. So if we get dealt that, we're going to try to draft all those cards that have white tea leaves on them. So that's the secret card. We're going to set that aside for now. Those are also double-sided, by the way. If you're playing in advanced mode, the opposite side, instead of giving you points, gives you special abilities. So that's kind of cool. So every round is going to be pretty much the same. Basically, whoever has this sweet first player marker is going to go. They're going to move our tea assistant here 1 to 3 spaces along the outside edge of the board. So let's say they move 2 spots. This is going to go over here on this side of the board. And then whatever that said, which I've already forgotten, we're going to get that much tea and movement. So we're going to get a purple and a yellow, and along with 2 movement. When you first get a tea, it goes in the bottom there. Then we also get 2 movement, like we said, so we can go purple and yellow following its little sections on the board. Or we could have done, 2 purples. Something like that. All right, then we're going to roll our dice and we're going to start taking some actions. Each one of the actions has a different way you can actually do it. So for instance, over here, this first far left board, you can put a dice there in order to take any one of the tea leaves. So let's say we really needed a blue one. We could do that there and put it on the bottom. Now, the second section over here is how you're going to get those cards. And those cards can be really, really strong. Basically, whatever dice, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you're going to get whatever that is. So if we were to put a 6 right here, for instance, that's where the deck is. You look at the top 3 cards, choose one of them, and put it on your board. These cards can do a number of things, but basically you're going to put it somewhere along the side there. And let's say this particular one gives you movement. So whenever there is a purple in this section next to it, that purple is going to be able to move, which is great. It gives us extra movement, kind of advances our tea up to the top. Some of them are stronger, like this one. This one says it moves both green and black tea, but once you use it, it flips over. In order to refresh that, there's actually an action all the way over here that allows you to flip a card back over, enabling it to be used again. We've got cards that kind of let you ship things. So if you were to put that there, if you are able to advance your tea, you can put your tea on there, and it's worth points. Maybe not as much points as be shipping it onto one of your ships, but you'd still be able to get points at the end of the game. So you advance your tea, and somehow get it over there. You get points for that card that way. Some cards allow you to swap out some tea. So if we had this one over here, we could turn... let's pretend we had a blue there. We could turn a blue into a black. Oh, I'm just making a huge mess here. Turn a blue into a black and even advance it 1. So those oxidation or fermentation cards are really helpful. Those T10s are actually really, really nice, except for reaching across the table with my chubby fingers. It makes it not so good. All right, so anyways, we've got more opportunities for points. These blooming teas. It's kind of a set collection thing. Though they don't actually do anything for your teas advancing on the board like some of the other cards do. However, the more you get of them, the more points they're worth. So 1 is worth 1 point, 2 is worth 3, 3 is worth 6, and 4 is worth 10, which is a ton of points if you can get a whole lot of those blooming teas. So all those cards do something special. This area over here is going to allow you to kind of move the cards around. So like we mentioned, this card right here allows you to move your purples. But if you were to place one of your dice over here, that allows you to move that card. And once you move that card, let's say you moved it there, once again, because it matches up, you'd immediately be able to move one of your teas up to the top, which is fantastic. The next little section over here allows you to swap cards. So for instance, we've got a blue tea over here and we're trying to fulfill this card. We might swap these cards in order to make it so that we can fulfill this crate and get some extra points at the end of the game. Do something like that. there's a spot where you can take the first player marker. We mentioned there's also a spot where you can flip over some of those cards that are really strong. And the next spot over here, though, is how you're going to get your boats. The boats is really the whole point of the game. We're going to, at the beginning of the game, declare whether you're going to use 3, 4, or 5 boats, determining how long the game is going to be. I recommend the 5-boat game. It's pretty fun, especially for 2 players. There's no reason not to, unless you're constrained by time, to do the full-length game. Now, the way you acquire these is through Sequential Dice. So, for instance, if you wanted this one, what you could do is you could put down, I'm going to pretend like I rolled exactly what I needed here. You could put down, let's say, a 3 and a 4. And if you're able to do that, you're going to get that boat. However, unlike some of the other actions that happen immediately, this does not resolve until the end of the round. So in someone else's turn, they might come behind us, and they might put a 4 and a 5. That's stronger than what we've got there, a 3 and a 4. So now then we have an opportunity to kind of outbid them. We can outbid someone by either adding more dice onto our chain or by having a higher number. So we've got 3, 4. They've got 4, 5. We could put a 2 in front of ours. Now we've got 2, 3, 4. We've got a longer chain than them, so we outbid them. But they might come back and add a 6 on the end of theirs or whatever the case is. So you kind of go back and forth until one person gives up, in which case that person claims that boat. There are 4 boats out at a time that you can claim. But again, you need sequential numbers, and you cannot bid someone by either making a longer chain or a higher valued chain. Once you do acquire one of those boats, it's going to go at the top of your board. So let me get all of this out here. This boat would go here. And once we try to move things to it, then we're going to be able to sail that ship, get whatever points are at the top. This particular one's called a junk ship. It basically doesn't have a requirement as far as what it needs. But some of the more advanced ones, this one says it needs a green, a yellow, and a blue. Therefore, it's worth more points than just having, 3 of whatever you want. All right, just how the boats had to do with sequential numbers, this last tile here has to do with equal numbers. You could put 2 2s there, but then someone else could come behind you and they could put 2 3s there, which again, you're looking at, to advance, you need to have either a higher numbered dice or a higher quantity. So if they had 2 3s, they would push us down, but we could come behind later, add on another 2, which then our 3 2s would be more valuable than their 2 3s. But again, they could come behind and add another 3 on. Once it's all settled, there's going to be basically 3 rows. Each row is worth a certain amount of movement. So whatever ones you claim, that's how much movement you're going to get. And the movement, again, is moving up, following the chain of whatever your tea leaves you want to do. And you can put them on the boats. The game is going to end when a certain number of these ships have been fulfilled based off of what you set up at the beginning of the game. Then you're going to add up all your points. Your points are going to come from the ships themselves, obviously. Some of these cards are going to have points on them. Or like we mentioned, the blooming teas can be worth a whole lot of points. And then at the beginning of the game, if you're playing with the non-advanced version, the A side of those cards, those are worth points as well, based off of the symbols on the cards. So you're going to add up all those points, and whoever has the most points wins the game.
So I know that on the Kickstarter, these are just add-ons and it's not a part of the game. But gosh darn it, I really loved those dice trays.
Oh, yeah.
They were so fun. I just like seeing the artwork in more places as well because I really like the artwork on this. So I like that it carried on to those dice trays and I just really liked them. It enhanced the gameplay for me.
All right, so a lot of times what I've seen, the trend over the past few years is a game comes out and it's awesome. And then in order to,
appeal to the masses.
Yeah, in order to make it more of it, that what people like, you make a dice version of it, or you make a 2-player version of it, or you make a card game version of it. And ultimately what ends up happening is you kind of strip away a whole bunch of the game in order to make it so it's a smaller package. Yeah. You make it so that it's easier, more portable, whatever the case is. And you lose a little bit of the game in the process, but you made it so that it was more, you said more appealing or whatever, yeah, for various reasons. So when we heard that there was going to be a chai tea for 2, I was so excited because we really, really like chai. And it's like, okay, cool. 2-player version. We love 2-player games, and we've been playing a lot of them lately. This is going to be great. I was not only not disappointed, but
Pleasantly supplied.
Presently supplied and rewarded with an entirely new experience. It wasn't like you just played Chai and then Little Chai. No, this is a whole different game, and it was equally awesome. It was a completely different system, working on all different mechanisms, all new mechanisms, all different new bits. It had the tea being the central theme, and that was about but that's. The only difference, or the only similarity, was just the fact that there was these two games about tea, and I love that there was a whole new experience in this box, and it was still great. It wasn't like it was Little Chai or
Little Chai, Baby Chai,
Chai for two, Chai the 2-player small, version. No, it's a whole new game, whole new experience, and really fun.
So there is not a way in this game to mitigate your dice rolls, but it doesn't matter. It honestly just does not matter. I never felt like once I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I mean, sure, Ryan blocked me and I blocked him, as would happen in any game. But I still felt like I didn't have any of my dice that were wasted.
Right.
Like, I wasn't like at the end.
There's always something to do.
Exactly. There was always something to do. Always something positive that I could do, beneficial for me that I could do. I never felt like I was wasting my turn. I'm like, well, I guess if Ryan did that, I guess I'm just going to do this over here. And so I felt like it didn't matter that you couldn't mitigate the dice roll because you had so many dice and you had so many options that you could really do everything you set out to do.
I really liked kind of the historical references throughout this game. There was, even spots on the app that they're going to be for historical references. There's a whole section of the rule book that had to do with all these different little history lessons about the transportation of tea over the years. And there was all the different boats in the game are real historical boats that were involved in like these great tea races or whatever that were happening. And even like they talked about the Boston Tea Party. And there was, the boats that were involved in that were in this game, and you could take part of that. I even at one point drafted one of those ships just because I wanted to like say that I had one of the Boston Tea Party boats. I didn't win that game, but it doesn't matter because I had the Boston Tea Party boats.
It obviously, worked a lot in your benefit to draft those.
Yeah, well, I didn't even get the tea loaded onto the boat in order to get it dumped off.
Yeah, I didn't even go that far. I really like the footprint of this game. It's pretty small. I like the box, and I like how much space it takes up on the table. I just really like the size of it. Most 2-player games are smaller, and so I do like that and gravitate towards this, and this one's no different. It's not like it's one of those games that tricks you into thinking that it's a small game of the West Kingdoms, and then it takes up all the space on the world.
Or like Castles of Burgundy, the card game.
Oh my gosh!
It's like a whole massive table.
Yeah, like what kind of card game is that? It's like a 52 card pickup game. But yeah.
Surprise. You guys, we had a great time playing this game. Like I said, it brought a whole new experience to the chai world. And still having tea be at the central theme of it. And you know what? I'm going to say something that I have never said before. I'm starting to like tea a little bit.
What he means is he's starting to not hate it.
And Bethany's like always forcing new and random and weird teas on me. And I'm always trying them, and I'm always like...
Ryan so much as sneezes, and I'm like, do you want me to make you some tea? I'll put honey in it. And
throughout our marriage, I've always resisted until probably the last...
year or so?
Yeah, 12 months, 18 months or so.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
I'm winning. I'm wearing him down.
Yeah, and this is not hurting. Every time I play chai, either chai or chai tea for two, it's like... hey, what are you drinking over there?
Yeah.
Give me a sip.
Yeah. And you know what? He doesn't gag anymore. There is displeasure in his eyes, but we're moving past that. But yeah. So I am a huge fan of this theme as well. I had so much fun with this game. Sometimes we play games and we get our review out and we enjoyed them, but we know in the back of our minds it's probably not getting back to the table.
It's going to be a while before we play it or
that
whatever.
is not the case with this one.
We were already planning out okay, so no, we don't need to play it, but when do we get to play it?
Yeah, exactly. When can we get this out again? When do we have time? What does our schedule look like? And so I think that's a huge telltale to the game in and of itself. So this game is currently on Kickstarter right now. So you want to go ahead as we release this video. So if any of this interests you, you definitely want to check that out. It's a lot of fun. We really enjoyed it.
And there's a solo mode too.
Yeah. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to us so you can see our videos as they come out. You can also find us on Facebook, we're Ryan Bethany Board Game Reviews. On Twitter, we're Ryan and Bethany 1. And on Instagram, we are Ryan and Bethany.
You guys, thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.